I'm Skilla, and this is Nerd Stuff with Skilla. I wanted to talk about the premiere of the new Marvel Network TV show, The Gifted. There really aren't any big plot twists or anything in this episode, but I will be talking about what happens in the episode and about the origin of one of the characters who originates from a comic book. So if you don't want to get spoiled on anything, hop on over and go watch the actual show. Episode 1 is called Exposed with a capital X, and pretty much all of the characters get exposed in some way throughout this episode. But not in a sexy way, so don't get excited. We follow two groups of characters. First, we have a small squad of mutants who have been tracking another mutant who's running from the police. The character that they're trying to find is Clarice Fong, aka Blink. Blink has the power to teleport in a similar range as what Nightcrawler does, but she has to create like a big portal. Nightcrawler doesn't really have to go through that much trouble in order to teleport. It's not easy for either of them to teleport to places that they can't see. The mutants who come to rescue her are Marcos Diaz, aka Eclipse. He has the ability to manipulate photons. John Proudstar, aka Thunderbird. He has the ability to see back in time for a short span of time, which makes him perfect for tracking people. And the last one is Lorna Dane, aka Polaris. Now, Lorna Dane is actually a secret daughter of Magneto, who did originate in comic books, and she has an ability to control magnetic currents like her father does, but instead of using that ability to like throw shit at people's heads and stuff, she's more on the track of blasting people with magnetic pulses. Towards the end of the episode, Reed Strucker informs Eclipse that Polaris is pregnant. Him and Polaris are in a relationship, and I don't think that he knew that yet. It hasn't been revealed whether that's true, or if Reed was saying that to raise the stakes and get Eclipse more on board with helping him save his kids. So that brings us to the next group of people, which is the Strucker family. Reed Strucker is the father. He's played by none other than Vampire Bill Stephen Moyer. Reed is a district attorney. The wife is played by Amy Acker, and her name is Caitlin. Both of their kids are mutants. I would not be surprised if at some point we find out that Caitlin has a mutant ability that she's been hiding this whole time. I think that's a possibility. So they have two kids together. Lauren, whose powers are kind of similar to like Avatar: The Last Airbender. She has the ability to control different elements with an affinity towards wind currents. And then the other kid's name is Andy, and he has some sort of control over metal, sometimes translates into explosions. It hasn't really been told completely 100% exactly how either of their powers work, more so with Lauren than with Andy. Andy's just now developing his powers and has no idea how to control them really yet. He starts to learn in the very first episode. Now, the two of them have a pretty classic dynamic where Lauren is kind of a more open person, like she clearly has friends, she's got a boyfriend, and Andy's clearly more of a loner. She didn't even think that he was going to want to go to the dance that she's going to. The big deal for me in this episode was that we get Sentinels. As a kid, those gigantic purple and pink robots who were always coming for my boy Wolverine were the most imposing and terrifying things on the planet. We get a much more updated version of the Sentinels in this series. Instead of being as tall as a skyscraper, these are actually like the size of a medium-sized dog, and they're kind of shaped like spiders. I'm sure this is more budget-friendly for our mutant-hating robots. And going with the original design probably would have been stylistic suicide for this show. So I'm really glad that they updated it, and I'm not disappointed at all that we didn't get the full-size purple and pink robots. So that's just my input on that. We got two really great Easter eggs in this episode. Now, there's probably more that I missed, but the two big ones to me were when one of the mutants has her ringtone set to the X-Men Evolutions theme song, which has been my personal ringtone in the past. And then the other one, of course, is one of Stan Lee's infamous walk-on cameos. You should know when you're getting into this series that, as far as we know, the X-Men and the Brotherhood are not a thing that exists right now. Like, they are referenced to, but they are not around. So I don't think that we're going to be seeing any episodes that center around Professor X or Wolverine or Cyclops or any of that. Maybe something more to do with Magneto at some point in time just because Polaris is in it, but who knows if we'll actually see a version of Magneto in the show or not. Out of any of the like big mains from the movie franchises, I think that Magneto is probably the most likely to be there. Some of the characters in the show that we've been introduced to were originally from comic books, but I believe the entire Strucker family is completely fabricated just for the show and not originally from comics at all. I think this series, just like old X-Men comics, is going to have a lot to do with segregation and racial discrimination. We've already got some hints that that might be a theme, and I think with the way that racial tensions are in America right now, it would be really a missed opportunity if they didn't do that. So I'm really excited to see how they weave that into the plot that they're building in the future. The action in this episode was really solid. All of the characters so far seem believable. The shortcomings of this episode right now are that the dialogue isn't as strong as it could be, but that's pretty regular for an introduction episode to this type of TV show. Like, a lot of times the writers feel like they have to cram as much exposition into the first episode as possible, and that all becomes a lot easier to do as series go along. And the other problem is that the characters, while believable, it's not like they all have a very strong personality in the first episode, and I do think that they're going to fix that a little bit later. Like, it's hard to really show you who a character is in just one episode, and rather build it a little bit more as you go along in a series. So I hope that they get a chance to solve those problems in the rest of the season. I have pretty high hopes for this series. I think that overall, as far as critical reception is concerned, this is probably going to fall somewhere in between Inhumans and Legion. A lot more on the side of Legion, as far as I can tell, because Inhumans is pretty much critically panned all around. And I really hope that they try to push the boundaries a little bit more, just like Legion did. I really enjoyed the first season, and I can't wait for the next season to start. And I hope that Gifted gives me that same fandom feeling of being really excited to catch the next episode every single week, and watching it twice sometimes, just to make sure that I see everything that there was to see. Overall, I thought this first episode was really solid, and I'm really pumped to see what happens in the next episode. Give me a big thumbs up if you enjoyed this review, and make sure to leave a comment down below with what your thoughts on the first episode of The Gifted were. And make sure to subscribe if you want to hear about more nerdy stuff from me. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.